you're very welcome to another episode of the Women's Rugby Pod. I'm Johnnie Hammond. Alongside me, Rachael Burford, the World Cup winner. How's things, Burf? How's Grand Designs going?
Yeah, it's still going. Might hear a few banging from upstairs, but no, yeah, we're on track to hopefully finish in a couple of months.
Couple of months, fingers crossed. Yeah, absolutely. And how's Pirate Dog? How's Mocha getting on with her eye injury?
Oh, she's literally heard her name.
She's up.
Yeah, no, she's fine.
Mocha's just jumped on Burf's lap there, for those of you just listening. But yeah, she looks well.
Yeah, no, she's all good. Her eye's healed up. She's got a tiny little scar on her eyeball, but other than that, she's as good as gold.
Good. It's not going to affect the sight going forward, no?
No, thankfully. Thankfully, it wasn't a big enough puncture to her eye to do that.
Good. And did we enjoy? We know we're a women's rugby podcast, but it was a cracking weekend of rugby across the board, wasn't it? There's lots going on. Good Six Nations, good Prem 15s, or not. Do you enjoy the weekend of ruggers?
Yes, I did. I think it's always so exciting when Six Nations is back on, and I like the fact again it's just the men's window, so you're not trying to catch everything. But yeah, we obviously played Saracens at the weekend. Our result didn't go the way we wanted to, and but we had one Scot watching the England-Scotland with us, Karen Finlay, and it was so funny. She's the only one that was cheering in this whole room of Saracens and Harlequins players and fans and some family. It was hilarious. But yeah, no, it's a great weekend.
Are you a rugby horse? I think I probably know the answer to this, but our listeners probably won't. Are you one of these people who has to watch all the games, go back and record and watch back if you're playing, etc., etc.?
What personal games, like as in?
Oh, just those men's Six Nations or other Premier 15 games over the weekend.
Yeah,
do you avidly watch everything? Yeah,
no, I try and watch as much as I can. And obviously you don't have enough hours for all the games that do go on, but always try and catch the highlights. With Prem 15 stuff, obviously we have Worcester this weekend, so we'll preview and watch Worcester. We'll watch their game last weekend. We'll have clips from them from other games as well, where our analysis team will do kind of clipping all of those bits. You don't have to watch through the whole thing, just picking out the common themes. But yeah, it just makes you feel so much more prepared going into a game, having watched a lot of footage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, on the show today, obviously a big one last week. We got plenty of stuff out, and yeah, just a huge thank you to all those who sent such lovely messages and took the time. Yeah, really, really appreciate it. And yes, some very, very lovely messages in there. We're just gonna have a chitter chatter, pitter patter today. You and I, Burf, around some nice news continues to come through in women's rugby. We'll have a look at the Prem 15s from last weekend. Who did well on the predictions out of yourself, Centre, and I. And we'll look ahead to next weekend's Prem as well. Of course, we've got Nandi Buthelezi bringing us all the world news as well. But first, Ireland. For a long time now, we've been reporting some pretty stuff. Greg Williams has come in. I don't know how well you know Greg. I got to know him a little bit during the 2014 World Cup. We sort of stayed in brief contact since then. He's a human being I rate very highly. I've not seen him on the park, but he's brought in Niamh Briggs as assistant coach for Ireland. Won 62 caps and was part of that sort of golden generation, wasn't she, of the Ireland 15? She'll join, as I say, Greg Williams for the preparations for this year's Six Nations. Your views on that appointment?
I think it's a really smart one. Obviously, Greg has got a lot of history and knowledge from working with the team previously. But I think having somebody like Niamh in there, all her experience, and she's not so far removed from the players that she gets a real insight about the direction that they want to go. So I think, for a rugby brain, she's always been so big and vital for Ireland. So is incredibly intelligent in knowing the game and being able to apply that. And I'm just really excited to see how she can transfer that into a coaching role. I know she's obviously done coaching. Was it with Munster, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So she's got plenty of experience to literally come straight into that environment. And I just think the amount of subtlety she will bring and the soft skills she will bring from being a player, from being a captain, from being in high pressure scenarios, from being in a team where you're down and out, to being in the team who's, Grand Slam women, winning the Six Nations, beating New Zealand. So all of that together, I think it's such a brilliant combo to go together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You quite often, in the Seventh Circuit and what have you, your coaches are coming up from academies or analysts or whatever, and they're in the system. This is a coach who's been there, played it, knows the issues that have gone on the last few years, and can actually speak up in a role of authority. And for those of you who don't know, which would be bizarre, I mean, she's a proper legend. It would be like Emily Scarratt finishing playing, wouldn't it? And going into coach England women. It's that kind of appointment. I think it says a huge amount, and she, as you say, will bring a huge amount to it. They also held a 41-person national screening camp. Did you see this at the weekend? Composed of the Energia All-Ireland League players who'd impressed in recent weeks. The camp seek to identify emerging talent ahead of this year's Six Nations, obviously beyond. Again, just smart stuff happening under Greg McWilliams. Let's get him on.
Yeah, well, you know him. He said you know him personally, so let's get him on. But I think, good move, isn't it? They've got a competition in Ireland. Let's look at what the best talent is offering there, and let's get them together and see what they can do when they're all in one place.
Yeah. No, again, just some really good stuff coming out of Ireland. Of course, nowhere near sort of where we all probably think they should be, but certainly some really positive steps coming out of the Ireland camp. Moving to other Celtic brothers and sisters, Scotland. Brian Easton named 30-player squad for Scotland's upcoming World Cup 2021/2 final qualification. Rachel Malcolm is captain. Any surprises in there for you? I mean, it's a fairly settled side now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think probably noticeable Katie Matheson. She's taken the step over to Scotland, which I think is fantastic. She's such a good player and so integral to Worcester. For her to then recognise there's an opportunity for her with the new eligibility law that she can go across to Scotland and be part of something that they're really building and something special. And Dubai is just around the corner. You can see the Scottish girls, saying they've got 80 minutes. 80 minutes is going to, dictate what happens next for them. And they're all buzzing about it. Sarah Bonner at training yesterday or Tuesday, she's just so ecstatic about getting out there and doing Scotland proud. So I think majority of them, we would have expected to see all those players in there. But, the inclusion of Katie Matheson really does bolster and give them a bit more depth in that 9 position.
I know, Joe, at Worcester. It's always spoken really highly of Katie Matheson. She was at England under 20, wasn't she? And sort of on the fringes of the England squad. But as you say, moves a little bit of depth in that Scotland squad for their game against either Colombia or Kazakhstan. Of course, Samoa and Hong Kong unable to get to those qualifications due to the COVID world that we live in. And the date for those, off the top of my head, I think it's 25th. Of February. I'm now desperately trying to look on the internet while we're recording a podcast live. Kazakhstan play Colombia on the 19th, and then it is the 25th. Scotland play the winners of that. Yeah, should have backed myself. You're quite right, Burf. There's my life in a nutshell. Let's move on. Wales. It's all about the Celts today. Liza Burgess as now head coach of the under-18s team. Spoken about a pathway, spoken about contracts. Here we go. Wales are delivering. And while the men's team are in a large patch of treacle at the minute, obviously the women are moving forward. Yeah, she announced her coaching team, didn't she, Bird, yesterday, of the Wales under-18 team. Team manager Josh Payne. He's involved in Worcester as well, isn't he? I think he's the general manager of Worcester there as well. Defence coach Kat Nicholas McLaughlin, or Kat Nicholas as she was known. Siwan Lillicrap is there as well as a skills coach. And Ollie Wilson, who I know Bird has worked with many times before. So you've got 2 former players, Kat Nicholas and the current Wales captain. A lot of IP there, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. And I think, Bird is such a great leader for that group of players. And And I think just the appointments are really smart. You know, why not have somebody who's, you know, we know Siwan's background with at Swansea University or a rugby input there. So why not have somebody to come in and to start nourishing that next generation other than your captain, like for your national team? I think it's such a great move. She's obviously a very talented coach in itself, but then to also have the leader of the national team being part of that coaching, so they can see it, they can believe it, and they, you know, Siwan's living that dream of being a professional player now, so can also, you know, show and tell those young players this is where you can go if you put your head down and you work really hard for it. So I think it's brilliant, and you know, we've been calling out for it for a long time, and I definitely think that all we're seeing is really positive steps from Wales. You know, every time we're turning, you know, a new month or a new corner, there's something new that they're trying to instill and to drive for. You know, Nigel Walker said it's not going to be an overnight thing, but slowly putting the stepping stones in place is all good for moving forward.
It is a slow process. You know, women's rugby is becoming professional. It's going to happen overnight, and you know, we've got to realise that. We've also got to realise that the world we're living is shifting sands for, you know, every part of every world community, business or otherwise at the moment with COVID. Of course, yeah, we're coming out the back end of it, but yeah, oh, why are we doing this? Why are we training on a muddy Tuesday night? Oh, to become Wales captain. Oh, she's coaching us. I mean, for that reason alone, it's a brilliant appointment, as you say, Bird. We can't rate her highly enough.
Hi, I'm Niamh Briggs, and you're listening to Women's Rugby Podcast.
Let's move a little bit closer to home then. Let's have a wee look back at the weekend. Dare I? Game changer, good atmosphere.
Yeah, it was epic. I think, you know, it delivered on all of that side of things, you know, the spectacle of lots of fans in the place. We had the entire stand filled as we ran out. We had all the flares and the flames and everything. So, you know, from a spectacle point of view, being part of that day, you know, I've spoken to some of the fans. They absolutely loved it. They all thought it was a great game, despite our result. But yeah, I just think, you know, we said it in the team meeting beforehand, like really, really pleased and proud to be part of a club that drives that kind of thing and wants to put on big days like that and be part of things like that. You know, it is really special. The result we're not happy about, but you know, from everything else it delivered, and so just really pleased on that front. But yeah, plenty to work on this week going into Worcester.
What was the score at half time?
8-7 to us.
And it ended 20 points to 8 or 8-20. What happened in that second 40?
Well, I think even in the first 40, we just didn't take any of our chances. That was ultimately the difference. We created so much, but we couldn't finish it. And, you know, looking back over history, we would finish, you know, a good 80% of those chances. You know, we might miss a few, but we've never missed as many as we did. And that's often what's harder to take, is the fact that we created the opportunities to win that game. I think you can always hold your head high when you're like, we gave everything and it wasn't good enough. They were better. But they were better on the day. They got what they deserved. But yeah, well, it was tough to take, especially when you watch it back and you look at the stats and you see we had so many opportunities to win that game and put points on the board in the first and the second half, and just all plays for a bigger story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. And you know, the next chapter of Saracens Harlequins goes on. Look, I think we're going to have the most competitive, we've actually said every year, but it's true and great for the league that it continues year on year. I think those semi-finals this year are going to be very, very intense. A, to get there, B, you know, once there. But what you put your finger on it, what we now Thursday morning we're recording this pod, you must have done a bit of analysis. Why is that? Physical, mental? Is it a bit of both? Why you didn't convert those chances which you would normally expect to?
I think it's got to be a little bit of both. I think when you're knocking on the door that many times and you're not getting in, that does have an effect on the psyche, as it would on the other foot. Every time you're keeping a team out in that sort of area in the 22, you're like, that's giving us confidence, right? We can keep them out, we can keep going. So I think definitely has a mental side to it. But I also think our execution of just our skill, we had more errors than we've ever had. We lost a lot of the breakdown. We knew that Marley Packer was, such a force to be reckoned with in that position. And yeah, look, there's other things that we had personnel move around, we're missing a few players, but so were they. And we just had to get on with that. But, I think it definitely comes down to a bit of that psyche, but also just our skill execution just let us down. Big moments, turned the ball over, gave away a penalty, knocks on. Like, we had so many knock-ons that we don't normally have. But, sometimes they come off the back of being brave to try and keep playing. And yeah, so we'll, those are the games where they should make you, and hopefully we'll really bounce back and push forward.
No losses, just learnings, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Let's just have a quick word on Marley Packer. I mean, she's over 33. Let's be kind. She's in her 30s. Let's just go there. She is just getting better. I mean, I think she's fairly keen to be at this World Cup, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're seeing the best of Marley.
Yeah.
I think, and I'll put it out there. I think, Oliver, her son, just gives a separation from rugby and maybe a perspective on more to life. And that can sometimes just revolutionise how you play, how you think, how you go about things. Obviously, this year she's taken on the co-captaincy as well. So that just makes her want to lead even more by example. Not that she needed that title to do that. But yeah, she's always been a phenomenal player. But I do think we are seeing the best of her at the moment. And every week, you see the stats that are coming out about her turnovers, her line breaks, her, all those kind of things, her carries, the way that she motivates her team and the way she struts around like she's carrying two carpets. She is a player that, has always been world class. But I genuinely think this is the best that I've seen Marley play consistently. And so, yeah, I think hopefully she can hold that form, going into the Six Nations as well.
Yeah, that word consistency. She's always been a great player, but she's doing it week in, week out, every single week. And yeah, if you watch her very, very closely, do Party Packer Cam, Mummy Marla Cam, and you watch how physically she plays the game. She puts herself around and consistently be at that level. She's on fire. Let's have just a whiz around the other games as well. I don't know whether you've spoken to people or seen some highlights or seen them in full. You may well be obviously interested in Worcester, who you played this weekend. They went down 10-12 to Bristol. Only just.
Yeah, I saw the final play from Bristol. It's the same story as their last game, isn't it? How Worcester are almost there to beat them, and Bristol just managed to finalise it, and with a deck kick at the end again. Look, I mean, how many weeks do we keep saying it? Worcester are a team who are on the up. It's only a matter of time before they're, beating the sides, not just, not in the dying moments, letting it go. So yeah, look, we know they're a threat. They obviously, the week before they pushed Saracens as well. So we are under no illusion that this is a win game. We've got to go out there to perform in order to push the side to get a win.
And Bristol, that's an important win for them, isn't it? Couple of bumps in the road of late, but actually to come back and win that and have the heart to do it at the end, that will please Dave Ward.
Yeah, I think just the belief to not give up and not think the game's gone and to keep playing is something that they'll be proud of. It's easy to play really safe. It's easy to play really safe when you're in that sort of position, but they move the ball from edge to edge. That's what they love to do. I think he'll be very pleased that to seal the win is massively important.
Gloucester Hartbury went down to Exeter Chiefs 32-36 at the Al Pass. That's a dent to Hartbury's drive for those semi-finals.
Yeah, I mean, what a tight contest. You know, we only caught a bit of it where I think Exeter Chiefs went up really early and then Gloucester responded really quickly. And this is all without their heartbeat. Mo Hunt, she wasn't able to play at the weekend as well. But yeah, I think it was a critical win for them. They needed to win that in order to help keep pushing for that top 4. Exeter still on, you know, a really good run at the moment. But, you know, I think it's a story with Gloucester, isn't it? They're always in and around beating sides, but they just don't have that finishing ability just yet. And you never know, maybe with Mo, they would have had that.
Yeah, possibly. And yeah, I think she obviously adds a huge amount to them. What about Kate Zachary's try then?
Oh, ridiculous.
Worldly,
unbelievable. Hey? Yeah, no, I like, as much as, you know, we talk about how many internationals in the league, I mean, how much the USA players are going to have improved. Like Rob Kane was at our game on Saturday, obviously watching a Lev Kelter. But, you know, the fact that he's got, I think he said, there's 18 players left in USA. The rest of them are here playing competitively. So what that can do for them at the World Cup, I think, is awesome. But yeah, she's a different type of 8, isn't she, compared to traditional 8s?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big old worldie, wasn't it?
Yeah, she's very, very skillful. Very athletic. If you haven't seen it, do look it up on socials. I'm just looking it back now. I mean, if that's not try of the week, then I'm Irish and I'll eat my hat as well. It picks the ball up, her 10-meter line off the back of a scrum and goes the distance. Quite exceptional. So yeah, she's another person we could get on as well. But yeah, it's only going to be beneficial for USA rugby, isn't it? But also, you like to think that she would bring something to English rugby as well, and share a few experiences, whether they're, you know, considered better or worse or less professional, whatever. You know, people can always offer something, and I think, you know, there is something to learn from her as well. What about Sale Sharks? Fairly, you know, all three of us. We'll get on to predictions in a second. All three of us predicted that Loughborough Lightning would beat Sale Sharks. They're coming late, Lightning. 32-3 it was at the weekend at Sale. They're coming with a late charge.
Yeah, they are. You know, they've obviously, we spoke last week saying how they've got a lot of numbers of their players coming back into that fold. Obviously, everybody's out there, Scottish players last weekend and this weekend, and you know, furthermore until they're back from the qualifiers. So they've still got more to add, as well as Emily Scarrett. But I think that's a really good result against Sale. Having played them, having watched them play against Bristol, you know, they really do push teams a lot closer than that. So I think, you know, that's a really strong win for them. And they probably recognised, you know, that they can't allow Sale to get into the game, because then they can cause real problems. So yeah, it's a really good result.
Yeah, I was surprised at the margin of that, I have to say. Yeah. Wasps 46, DMP unable to trouble a scorer. Again, you know, we've seen a lot bigger scores than that. And I know that Wasps would have had it tough in that game.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's easy to say, what do you mean that's a good result? It's 46 points. But like you said, there's been a hell of a lot more points scored against them. I think their last round, they scored maybe 104, 102, something like that. So that's a huge result to turn that back around. I suspect Giselle will probably have wanted more than what she got as well. So, yeah, look, we know that there's lots of work to do with DMP. But I think, you know, that they still turn up and they put their bodies on the line. And clearly, you know, to not go into, you know, the 80s, which they've seen a lot of weeks, is a positive result for them.
Indeed it is. So all of that means the Saracens stay top on 57, Bristol Bears chasing in second on 50. This weekend, only the one game, which we've alluded to, which is you against Worcester, one of those rearranged games. What have we got to get right this week? Take your chances. Is that?
Can't give away the secrets. Right. But yeah, take our chances. Create them and take them.
I like that. Create them, take them. I mean, that can be applied to a lot of things. We'll keep it rugby focused. Let's just I mean, we should probably just have a look at last week's predictions. Sarah Hunter, Gloucester Hartbury, Loughborough Lightning, Quins, Worcester. 1 out of 4. Rachael Bird went Loughborough Lightning, Exeter, Quins, Worcester, 2. And somebody else went Quins, Bristol, Exeter, Loughborough Lightning. Fairly dominating you in the predictions race, young Rachael Burford, I can assure you. Anyway, enough of our rabbiting on. Let's go global now with Nandi Buthelezi. Here's Nandi's news.
I'm Marley Packer, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Episode 101. Thank you so much, Johnny. It's great to be back again for this week's edition of the pod. Over in Kenya, a new sporting venture has been announced by World Sports Safaris Limited. Samburu Sevens in Kenya will showcase the best of Kenyan and international rugby talent. The dates have been announced between the 9th to the 17th of July. And as always, let's kick off with the latest results from the Premier 15s. And in round 13, Worcester lost at home against Bristol Bears, losing that clash 12-10, with Exeter Chiefs getting a victory over Gloucester Harbury, winning that clash 36-32. Sale Sharks lose at home against Loughborough Lightning, losing that clash 32-3, while the Wasps get a massive 46-0 victory over DMP. And finally, the game changer saw Saracens come out on top 20-8 against Harlequins, so Saracens stay top of the table on 57 points, with Bristol Bears chasing in second on 50 points. This weekend, there is only one game rearranged from an earlier round, and that is the Harlequins versus Worcester game. Looking at the English Championship in the North, forward Waterloo didn't manage to get any points on the scoreboard against Cheltenham, and it was Cheltenham Tigers that would walk away with the 33-0 victory in that encounter. Barnsley lost at home against Kenilworth, losing that clash 22-5, while West Park Leeds get a victory over Sefton, winning that game 15-5. Lichfield also get a victory at home against Loughborough Town, winning that game at 33-7, and Harrogate lose at home against Novocastrians, losing 15-5. This means Cheltenham extend their lead at the top of the table on 62 points, whilst West Park Leeds sit on second on 49 points. Moving across south, Bath get a victory against Richmond, winning 14-8, while Blackheath getting a massive 28-0 victory over Henley, while Old Albanians also get a massive win against Buckingham Swans, winning that clash 56-5. Supermarines didn't manage to get any points on the scoreboard this week against Reading Abbey, and they lost 67-0, while Thurrock won 42-5 against Hove at home. So Thurrock maintained first place on the table on 59 points, with Bath chasing in second on 52 points. And this weekend there is a break in the championship, except for rearranged matches in the north, and that is the Cheltenham versus Novocastrians game, the forward Waterloo versus West Park Leeds match, as well as the Harrogate versus Kenilworth, and the Sefton versus Lichfield, and in the south, Bath versus Thurrock. Moving over to Ireland, there was no Energy All Ireland League fixtures last week, but it is back this weekend with the top of the table clash, with UI Bohemian taking on Railway Union. Melancholic will take on Steutonians, Galwegians will take on Malone, and Old Belvedere will go head-to-head against Blackrock College, and Cook will host Wicklow. And as it stands, Railway Union and UI Bohemian are both competing for top spot on the table, with Railway Union currently edging ahead on points difference. Sadly, there is no Elite One for now, but it returns in a fortnight. Lastly, despite our best efforts, there is some confusion about the next round of the Liga Iberdrola this weekend, and we think there might be a set of matches that are still going to go ahead, and the proposed matches are Sansei Scrum taking on Complutense Cisneros, San Cuga taking on Majadonda, Grad Residentia will host Cotiva Cocos, and Olímpico de Pozuelo will take on Eibar. But we will be in a better state to report on these fixtures after this weekend. That's it from me, and catch you next week.
Nandi, thank you very much as ever. Just before we go, Burf, it is regular pod 101. So if there was a rugby 101 room, what would you put in it?
Oh.
That's good, isn't it?
Oh, you can't put me on the spot like that. Have you got one?
I'm doing it. I'm putting it on the spot. I've got about 14,000. So I'm just going to just move it down to one.
Do you know what? I don't have one to give you, but I do remember watching Room 101, and there was a football manager or football coach on, and they said, what would you put in there? And they said, I'd put all physios, because nowadays all it is MRI this, X-ray that, grade 2, B, C, whatever. Whereas back in the day, you just got the old spray and magic can, spray it on your injury, and then off you go. He said, so that's what I'd get rid of.
There you are. So next time you get an injury, you're up a certain creek without a paddle, aren't you?
Freeze spray. Did you not see Molly Packer? She had a bit of freeze spray on her. She was gone.
She got a compound fracture. Yep, she only wants freeze spray. So we listen to the pod. My one-on-one, instead of wide, is those involved in the women's game. Do it for the women's game. Do it for the greater good of the women's game. And that is unions, clubs, individuals. Plaster yourself on social media pretending you're supporting the women's game when actually what you're doing is promoting yourself. Or unions just being open to stuff like this. Clubs don't even promote, when we have one of their players on, clubs don't even promote that. We're the only podcast in the world that does this stuff. I know that's quite personal, but we do this for the greater good of the game. We do lots of stuff for the greater good of the game. I just wish for those who don't do it for the greater good of the game, they can be chucked in room 101. How about that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Good.
You're going to need a big box.
You what?
You're going to need a big box to put them in.
Yeah. Do you know what? You're absolutely right. A massive, massive room. Perhaps you just find an island and we'll just shove them all off there. We'll finish up with some shout-outs. Some sad news to start from Saracens. Their former scrum half and club stalwart, Little Jen Langdon, passed away. Her family announced this week. Obviously, all of our thoughts go out to Jennifer's family and friends, and of course the Saracens rugby family. Some sad news there. Someone else submitted to the DMs this week. Hannah Ryan. You see this one, Burf? Hannah plays for Clondalkine Rugby Club. I've not said that right, have I? As it's coming out of my mouth, I know that's not right. Apologies. It's James Lowe's adopted club. And the other weekend, she scored her first try. It's been a difficult season for the team and all the amateurs in the league with COVID making it stop-start. But her sister, Sarah, is the one who got in touch. She's really proud of her sister, Hannah, and the rest of the team. They're trucking things on where women's rugby is traditionally it's a non-rugby area of Dublin. So she's wishing them all the best and said they're really, really proud of them and go well. But it means very little from me. Why don't you give Hannah Ryan a shout-out, Rachael Burford?
Yeah, well, congrats, Hannah, on your first ever try. And, yeah, great to see that good things are continuing to go, even though there are difficult times happening. But, yeah, well done. And
well done, Sarah, for eventually giving your sister's name after about 14 messages. That was brilliant. There you are. If you want a shout out, that's how easy it is. Slide in the DMs and boom, you're on the pod. We have new plans around the Celtic Nations, what have you. Looking potentially go live and that kind of stuff. So keep your eye across our socials. The other thing, and we're going to announce it probably on LinkedIn as well, but if you want to get involved in the Women's Rugby Pod, there are lots of different roles, and as this year continues, it's just going to get busier and busier. So we will make the point that it's purely voluntary. Burf and I, it's purely voluntary as well. I think we just about covered our costs over the last few years. But yeah, if you want to get involved, editing, social media, producing, fixer, organising, lives, that kind of stuff, then do get in touch on the socials. We've got our email on the various social media profiles as well. So yeah, if you fancy, just drop us a line. As ever, hit subscribe if you care to, leave us a little review, and we'll be back next week. All the best at creating them and taking them, Burf.
There we go. Until next time.